in order to get a full day's worth of vitamin D, you need to go outside, essentially butt naked, in direct sunlight for like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Maybe like 20 minutes. Yeah. But surprisingly, in Florida, the Sunshine State, there's a lot of people deficient in vitamin D because we're always covering ourselves in sunscreen and layering up to avoid
Makes
the sun
sense.
and that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
vitamin D, I think, is something that people should supplement with. I do.
Then that leads us into like what vitamin D, right? There's not all supplements are the same supplements.
Right.
I get mine from a certain source. I know that you back certain brands, and I rely on you heavily. What would a couple sources be? Welcome to the Full Fueled Podcast with your host, Matt Tack.
Dr. Alfred Alessi.
That's what I'm talking about, bro. What's up, what's up, my man? This is a
Not
bonus
much, bro.
episode.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I think we both had this idea that we wanted to share some knowledge about the supplement industry and some of the conflicting info out there and how to help people make better choices with that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like when and why to use supplements.
I'm
right?
like Anchorman, man. Right now, I don't know what to do with my legs.
I think it's the wrong movie. I think that's Ricky Bobby, but yeah.
Oh, is that Ricky Bobby?
Same actor, so you're close. Awesome, man.
Close, man.
Yeah, I like it. Cool, man.
Let's talk about some supplements.
Yeah, man. So, I think the biggest thing, bro, is helping people to realize that like they don't need supplements. Supplements
Yeah.
can be beneficial, they can be helpful
Yeah.
if you're not getting enough through your diet, right? That's what the term supplement means, supplemental, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is like if you are deficient in certain areas because you're vegetarian or because you're vegan, you should supplement with certain things, right?
Yeah.
Or if you have a stricter schedule that makes it harder to get more quality high whole foods into your diet.
Yeah.
And most of us are not getting in like everything we need, right? So that's
Yeah.
where supplements come into play, using things like dehydrated green powders, right, to get enough greens and those micronutrients, phytonutrients, without having to eat 10 salads, right?
Yeah.
That is, it's kind of like a hack, and again, it's a supplement, right? So it should not replace, but add to what you're already doing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And like obviously if you're fasting, you're probably not going to be able to like obviously maybe catch up some some micronutrient load that you would
Right.
need without supplementation.
Yeah.
I mean, we found that out for me, vitamin D deficiency, need to incorporate that in.
Right.
Somebody told me actually with vitamin D was in order to get a full day's worth of vitamin D, you need to go outside, essentially like completely butt naked in direct sunlight for like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Maybe like 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's certain areas of your body that absorb the UV rays and the sunlight better.
Okay.
Right. So like there's this whole craze of like people like sunning their buttholes. And it's like they're like, well, the skin there is so much more porous, it's gonna take it. I'm like, where do you do that?
So much more porous.
I'm like, come on, man. Or like your your under area, whatever. But
You're
getting it on like the bigger parts of your body. Obviously wearing a t-shirt, then it's just not my arms and my neck. But
Yeah,
like,
right.
taking your shirt off, letting your chest and your back get more sun because it's a bigger area of your skin, so that
Yeah.
it can produce that vitamin D. Yeah.
Which is crazy though, because so there has to be so many people with vitamin D deficiencies because I don't wear a shirt very often.
Yeah.
Right? I'm outside, I think like I would say more than average, like than most people. I don't know. I'm in Florida. I'm in the Sunshine State.
right.
I was vitamin D deficient. I couldn't imagine if I lived in Michigan, spent like 5 months in
Yeah.
snow.
Yeah.
Like I would be probably severely. I mean, I live in Florida and I was still like under where I need to be.
Yeah, above like a certain latitude in the United States and other countries around the world, obviously, but that the deficiency level goes up, right?
Yeah.
Because you're, like you said, wearing long sleeves all the time. But surprisingly, in Florida, the Sunshine State, there's a lot of people deficient in vitamin D because we're always covering ourselves in sunscreen and layering up to avoid
Makes
the sun
sense.
and that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
vitamin D, I think, is something that people should supplement with. I do.
Is there, and so that leads us into like what vitamin D, right? There's not all supplements are the same supplements.
Right. Yeah.
And so then where are we leading into the supplementation of like, hey, if I had a source, I get mine from a certain source. I know that you back certain brands, and I rely on you heavily, what would a couple sources be?
Yeah, I mean, so the vitamin D that you want is D3. That's the one that your body's going to absorb and then convert into D2,
Yeah.
but it won't absorb D2. That's what it produces, right?
Hmm.
So when you get sun, your body's going to produce that 25 hydroxy vitamin D, the D2. The I think the best form that you're going to see in most supplements is cholecalciferol, right? That's because vitamin D is not really a vitamin. This is going to be a shocker for a lot of people, but it's more like a prohormone, or like
Okay.
a like it acts more like a steroid hormone, and it helps to kind of be like a cofactor in the cascade that causes your body to produce those steroid hormones, testosterone, estradiol, progesterone, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So it's very important.
Yeah.
It's called vitamin D. I honestly couldn't tell you where that came from, but um, supplementing with it is important because again, people are not getting
Yeah.
the amount of sunlight that they need to be. They're under these like fake lights all day long, so their body's kind of like getting away from real light and getting more towards like that blue light.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's different brands out there, obviously, and this is kind of part of what we wanted to talk about today is people need to be their own advocate for like what they're doing. Just because you saw a commercial doesn't mean it's a good quality product,
Yeah.
right? So just because it's on the shelf at a pharmacy
Hmm.
actually probably means it's not that high quality of a product, right?
Yeah.
Like, if it's costs you $5, don't buy it, right? Then that's $5 piss. You're just pissing that out, right?
Hmm.
Your body's not gonna you're not gonna be able to recognize what that is. Kind of like the same way we talked about like junk food, and your body doesn't know how to like process those fake things.
Hmm.
There's synthetic vitamins that your body doesn't know what to do with either. It can try, and maybe you'll get some of it, and maybe like 10-20% of that vitamin gets into your body,
Yeah.
and the rest is excreted. So using things that are bioavailable, right? Um, whole food sources of vitamins are awesome. So
Hmm.
like desiccated green powders, or like these desiccated organ supplements that are coming out nowadays. A lot of
Yeah.
companies creating that and people using them. Your body knows how to treat that because it's like a whole food. It's just been reduced into a little capsule that you can take.
Yeah.
So I love that kind of stuff. If you can't get your hands on those, or the whole food's not working, then there are obviously supplements. But you gotta check branding, right? So where is it coming from? Where are they producing it? I know it sounds like a lot of work, but this should be on their website
Yeah.
or the company's data. Um, but when in doubt, like a company that third party tests their product is important
Yeah.
because they don't have to,
NSF
right?
certified and all that
supplements
certifications for
supplements are
sport. I like
not
sport.
regulated, right?
Yeah.
FDA doesn't control any of this stuff. So somebody could say, hey, there's a vitamin D supplement, proprietary blend with vitamin D and whatever. 10% of that's vitamin D, the rest is just filler.
Yeah.
And now you're getting what you think is vitamin D, but you're not.
Yeah.
So, companies that choose to third party test are basically saying, hey, we want you to know that our stuff's legit.
Yeah.
So companies that third party test get it FDA approved by choice. That's awesome. So that's basically them saying like, hey, we didn't have to do this, but we want to prove to you that like this is a quality product.
Yeah.
And then things like fish oil can be tracked. Usually, you can like find where they're getting that marine fish oil from.
Yeah.
Is it from some farm raised sick cod, or is it from
Yeah.
like some freshwater salmon that
Yeah.
has a high quality of like EPA DHA?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah, that's something we actually found when we were doing it started incorporating incubating the farm with our lion's mane is that there's so many mushrooms out there that are just like a quarter of actual mushroom and then the rest is filler that they
yeah,
just incorporated
yeah,
into the product. So that's something obviously we didn't want to do. And so we started working with a mycologist out of Jacksonville State University and started incorporating um, I mean, we think they're the best lion's mane on planet Earth.
yeah,
So I incorporate nutritious lion's mane into a supplementary with my coffee.
yeah,
So I put it in coffee. It does change the taste, but you can put that in food,
yeah.
which
Yogurt.
is yogurt, which is some good fibers. So that's where I get my mushroom source. But then I usually standard process for my omegas. Um, and then I have a central nervous system support that I utilize too,
Cool.
as well as my B12s. But I know that you have who am I taking for my vitamin D? Who's that
The
D3?
the brand that I use is Zymogen. Is like
Zymogen.
it's
Okay.
a nutraceutical grade supplement. So they're closer to like medication almost because the way they respond, your body responds to it.
Oh
They're
wow. Okay.
some of this stuff most people like some people can't tolerate, right?
Yeah.
Like the high level of these vitamins. But they're probably the best quality around, and that's why
Yeah.
I use them. Um, So I can, obviously I run a lot of lab work, make sure I analyze it and specifically know what people need.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind me sharing, like with you, right? We saw that you had the vitamin D level that was
Yep.
low. And
Yeah.
then
What
also,
else was I low on?
well, you had the elevated homocysteine, right? Which is an inflammation, basically marker.
Yeah.
So, that can be related to higher intake of meat, but also like lower B vitamin intake, right? If your body's not methylating. So we're going to start you on a methylated B vitamin with, it's basically a full spectrum B, but it's methylated, which the concept of methylation is that that's what your body recognizes.
Okay.
So without getting into a ton of detail, a methylated B vitamin will be absorbed versus like a folic acid, which is like a synthetic version of folate.
Okay.
Your body doesn't know what that is. So that's where some of the misinformation comes from. Most supplements out there is folic acid. It's
Gotcha.
synthetic. You're probably not absorbing most of that.
And those med packs are customary to me. So like
Mm-hmm.
you actually will look at my blood work and then you'll order based on what my body needs.
Yeah, yeah. So the omegas for the inflammation, because
Uh-huh.
I know you're taking them, but we probably double that or
Okay.
even triple it, and then the vitamin D, and then there's a curcumin product in there as well, which helps with like a natural, obviously anti-inflammatory, but also helps with testosterone production and kind
Yeah.
of like boosting that cascade of the hormones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good little pack.
So that's what's cool about this is that like you can get a customized, and I got my blood work done, and I would definitely get a biomarker blood work set done
Right.
as well as a stool set that allows you to kind of know and set the baseline. You're tracking where the baselines are. So I tracked where the baselines are. All right, now what do we need to add in from supplementation
Yeah.
to really get you feeling even better?
Yeah.
And we were like shocked. I looked at my blood work and I was like, man, I got a long ways to go. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, I'm like, feel good. But
Yeah.
that's the good thing about setting a baseline
Yeah.
is like, I'm already feeling it. You mean to tell me I can feel better?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's what we both thought. We're like, I can feel better than this. I'm like, let's
Yeah.
do it. Let's dive in.
And you don't know unless you test, right? Like,
Right.
A lot of people just start buying supplements because their aunt, their sister told them, hey, you should take this.
Yeah.
Okay, like cool, like it might benefit you. It might not. Maybe you're already sufficient in vitamin D or B vitamins or something.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need that. Now you're just wasting money on something that your body ultimately doesn't need, and it's going to just be more for it to process.
Yeah.
So it all has to go through your liver also, right? So your liver's got to process all this stuff. So, getting even a base panel, man, it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
A couple $100, know where your base levels are, make an educated decision as to what you're going to put into your body,
Mm-hmm.
and if you actually need it. You know what I mean? And I think the biggest thing, man, is like before people jump on some kind of supplement routine, is like focus on your diet, right?
Yeah.
Because the concept of synergy that occurs within whole foods, right? I don't know why I always go back to like grass-fed steak, but it's because it's a high quality like source of nutrients.
Well, and remember, we are an affiliate, so get your grass-fed steak if you're in Tampa, if you're anywhere in Tampa, Orlando, or Jacksonville.
What was the name of the farm though?
Spread Oak Farms.
Spread Oak
Farms. We'll get you that's plugged. It's only for our show audience. We'll put some stuff in the show notes too for you.
Cool. But yeah, so the nutrients that are in steak work together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So versus you taking like an isolated B vitamin, which can be beneficial, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But the amino acid profile with the protein and along with the vitamins that are in, say, like a steak, they work together within your system that your body is able to use all that together.
So let's grab onto this. This is what's cool about this is talking about steak. Technically considering like steak is grass-fed steak where you know where the source came from,
yeah,
and having an understanding of that is you actually getting phytonutrients from the steak, right? So it's not just like a dense protein source that you're looking,
right.
but you're getting phytonutrients from that eventually break down that give you other vitamins, right? So your micros and your macros at the same time.
It can be a superfood, man. Honestly, if you get a high quality cut and like you said from a grass-fed source that's not some farm-raised sick cow, then yes, I agree. Yeah,
my man, dude. So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
only for our audience.
And so let's just hit on a couple. I want to hear from you, and then I'll kind of say mine. But like, what are like the main supplements that you use? Or like, I know we just kind of talked about a few, but like categories, right? Like if you were to tell people like, because there are some people out there who have no idea what any of this stuff is.
Yeah.
So I'd like for them to just at least know why and what to use them. And some of the categories I wrote down, one is like, this is your hallmark, like nootropics, right? Why would someone need that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, for me and supplementation across the board, I rely heavily on you, number one, and then number two, because I just started getting into peptides, right? Peptides are pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
We'll save that for another episode, but peptides are pretty neat. You're getting me into that scene of like understanding that in depth, um, in terms of like how I need to incorporate that, and then timing. That's getting
Yeah.
super nerdy with it. Just from an ancillary standpoint, yeah, nootropics are a big thing just because I wanted to focus on the anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
What is the anti-inflammatory that I can get in my body, but then also be a reactive to my neurological, components.
Right.
So I feel like my brain is my most protective organ because at the end of the day, like I want to be able to logically think for myself for as long as possible, right?
Yeah.
And it really starts with the gut. So if I can get those two, and nootropics are just a big, big piece of that. And then, as I've gone down through this rabbit trail of like nootropics and then specifically like how lion's mane can be so beneficial
Yeah.
as an anti-inflammatory for the body, I'm like, man, sometimes you just need to focus in one area, right? And so that's where we focused and we kind of honed in on, in terms of we're going to start this farm. We're going to grow the cleanest lion's mane mushrooms on planet Earth.
Yeah.
So we feel like we have some of the best, absolutely best on planet Earth. I think we would compete with definitely with some of the more organic grown ones in other parts of the world, that don't have the soils that we do. And
Yeah.
soils are another thing.
Yeah.
And so as far as what mushrooms actually absorb, but nootropics are big. So that's supplementation for me. Number one
Yeah.
is I lion's mane mushroom. I put that. I also incorporate shiitake mushroom and then a little bit of reishi as well. So that's an anti-inflammatory base. And then, like as what we talked about through your guidance, omegas are a big piece. I have central nervous system support, which is a plant-based option too. And then the only other thing that I do, which it comes from Symphony, we'll put this in the show notes too, because it's a low dose. We do a low dosage what am I? Man, we're gonna have to cut that.
That's
We're gonna have
okay.
to cut that
That's all
one.
good.
Gosh, man, blanket. We do low dosage of what do we give our kids? Um, to help fall asleep.
Like
Is
melatonin.
it melatonin? Gosh, man.
Yeah.
Drawing blanks. That's not good.
That's okay,
So
bro. What is it?
melatonin. I do a low dosage plant-based melatonin,
Yeah.
and that honestly helped me. I feel like, uh, I think it's a miracle drug. You can't overdose on melatonin, so I do supplement that,
Yeah.
to allow it to aid a little bit deeper sleep cycle and allow me to go as I'm going in a wind down routine. I don't take that every night, so it's not
Yeah.
supplementary every day,
Yeah.
but 2 to 3 times a week, I will take a low dosage and allow me to just get into a little bit deeper sleep, which for sure impacts my sleep. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I wake up definitely more alert, so I had a stronger REM cycle, but. That's predominantly what I do, and then I'll let you dive into the protein. I use Thorn for protein,
That's a good one. Yeah.
which
I think,
that's
and kind of touching on that melatonin thing, man, is like you already have a good sleep hygiene protocol. Like,
yeah,
so this just helps you. It's a supplement, right? That's not going to replace somebody staring at their phone for 4 hours before bed
absolutely
and
not.
eating a bunch of food right before bed. You're not
Right.
going to hack. You're not going to melatonin hack your way to better sleep.
Yeah, right.
You got to have the right steps in place naturally with like your lifestyle.
Yeah,
This can then aid it. So just to touch on that a little bit, but yeah, I mean, and then some of the big categories I think that people would benefit from proteins, right? Like a clean whey protein, or if they need to be plant based, some kind of a clean plant based protein to get more protein in their diet, right? Especially if they're looking for like weight loss, muscle gain,
yeah,
or body transformation goals. Um, Multivitamins, I go back and forth, right? Like there's good ones out there that are more of a synthetic multi that can kind of fill some gaps if someone's maybe missing things.
hmm
But I like people to get whole food sources of multivitamin. So I use more like shakes for multivitamins. I have one that I use from a company called Equilife
okay,
that is a high quality. Basically, it's called a foundational nutrition support. It's
yeah,
got all the vitamins. It's a multivitamin, but in a shake, so it's easier absorbed. Um, with some other factors, right? It's got protein and stuff in there too. And then, performance enhancing supplements is a big one. People who are exercising are trying to get that edge. So nootropics works in that category as well as like vasodilators, your pre-workouts and that kind of stuff. I was a pre-workout freaking junkie in
yeah.
college, bro. I
Is
used to
there
take
is
it
there one
all
that
the
you would
time.
honestly like recommend?
I
in
mean,
today's environment. I just don't like the spike. I wanted naturally
yeah,
increase cortisol levels, adrenaline levels. So for me, I don't take them because I want to operate at
best
a
pre-workout, bro, is like a good quality meal 2 hours before your workout with like some high quality carbohydrates, right? Like
yeah,
sweet potato and stuff like that that your body's going to be able to utilize,
yeah,
and then like some electrolytes. To me, that's the best. And then you can use a little bit of like I like vasodilators to get like a little bit of that pump if I'm lifting. So
yeah.
like the best like natural ones like beetroot. You get some beet
Beetroot,
juice, bro, and it's got that
just a pop.
yeah, it causes your body to create more nitric oxide,
Yeah,
which is awesome.
I've heard that apple cider vinegar is like a good like not only stabilizer but good glycogen levels. They kind of a glycogen reset for
Interesting.
your brain
Cool.
before it. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
rough to drink that
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
it is horrible.
You
I've
dilute it with
never,
some water, it makes it a little bit
yeah,
more palatable. Yeah,
you can liquid it. But I mean, that's why we came out with nutritious pouches. I think it's like kind of a pre and um, mid mid routine. So I'll do supplementary. I guess you can call those supplementary,
yeah,
even though like kind of they're snack related, but they're intended for that focus of getting good, clean, complex carbohydrates when you need them efficiently. So
yeah,
like if you're working out, if you're like an evening person, but you need some like quick carbohydrates at like 3 p.m. and then you're working out at 5 or 6,
yeah.
it's a good option.
Cool.
You might not use them in the morning nearly as much. I go into a little bit more fasted state. I like the idea of something you said though, of like potentially doing something like a complex carbohydrate within the workout.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
I'm gonna try that
yeah. Which I mean, in your nutritious, right? It has sweet potato.
as sweet potato.
It's perfect.
So and it's already pureed. It's not going to
Yeah,
be heavy on the gut. It can
yeah,
be broken down.
yep,
It feeds you the glycogen replenishment that I would need
yeah,
a little bit faster. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's not like you're going to eat a whole like sweet potato
yeah,
in the middle of a workout.
yeah,
So if something that's already pureed that allows you to
yeah. It's awesome.
create it, it's cool. So anyways, that's where any but protein's a big thing.
Yeah, it's such
Like
a big market, man.
it's such a big market. It's not really controlled. I know that like I've heard like bone marrow protein is good from various sources. I don't know if you have any
Like bone
sources.
broth protein.
Bone broth
Yeah,
protein, that's
yeah.
what it
Bone marrow
was.
protein would be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if that exists.
I don't
I would
know.
fucking crush that, dude. But yeah, bone broth protein again. It's like animal based, so
Yeah.
for people who aren't doing that, then they probably wouldn't want that. But yeah, it's got more of the collagen and the growth factors and stuff in it.
Yeah.
Um, I I do well with whey protein, bro. It's so
Wait, really?
easy. The digestibility of the protein is the highest on the scale.
And isolate.
Yep, an
Whey
isolate.
isolate.
You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. So an isolate, a whey protein isolate. The next below that is a concentrate, right? Which
Yeah.
has like the some of the fat and the carbs
Yeah.
and the natural like the lactose and stuff. But obviously, if you have a dairy intolerance, don't do whey protein.
Right.
But people who can, it's just gonna be the most bang for your buck. It's the
Right.
cheapest protein there is. Look for a good source, right? I
Mhm.
wouldn't just buy some basic one off the internet, but grass fed cows is obviously best. Um, and then looking for like a high amino acid profile.
Yeah.
Most of them listed on there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Leucine too.
yep,
Yeah.
that'd be on there. Yeah,
Yeah, the high end leucine. So, okay. Anything else? We can recommend some people and sources in the show notes
yeah,
too,
yeah.
in terms of like where to look
I
or
think people just have to be their own proponent to look up the brands and if that that company has what they're looking for. If they need more help with that kind of thing, that's something you and I can help with as well. Is lead them in the right direction. So
absolutely.
we always take questions. People can write in and we'll point you in the right direction.
And that's where we'll go. Do
Yeah.
we have a question, Blake,
Yeah,
from the audience?
creatine,
Ooh,
everyday
missed that. Yeah, that's a good one.
vitamins, the kind of general like vitamins people find at grocery stores, but specifically creatine's a big one regarding
Yeah.
workout area. Thoughts?
Monohydrate. I love that. No, that's a really phenomenal question. It's something that I forgot. I do take a creatine monohydrate.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is actually something that I incorporate. It obviously allows you to retain more water within the
Yeah.
muscles. So, what is there a certain brand you would recommend?
You want to look for Creapure, which is like the trademarked uh, form of creatine that is probably the purest form. And there's
Mhm.
different brands obviously that carry that use that as their source. But yeah, creatine is so the phosphocreatine system is that first like 5 to 9 seconds of output by your muscle, right? It's using creatine. It's
Yeah.
using creatine from your diet and from inside the muscle as well. So if you supplement with creatine, you're going to have most people are going to either get stronger, bigger, power output's going to be increased, right? That's
Mhm.
the use for it for athletes and stuff. But what most people don't know is it's a powerful nootropic as well for your
Yeah.
brain, right? So it does the same thing in the brain as it does in the muscle. So it's going to boost brain activity and the quality of like your focus and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So I use it for both those
That's
reasons.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good question because creatine is, I mean, monohydrate. So
Right, right.
there's obviously various versions, and then create. You say Korea Pure?
Korea Pure is just like a trademarked like form of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But it's the
but
purest form.
it's pure, yeah.
Okay.
The name.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. But yeah, no, that's a phenomenal question.
Yeah,
I think
good
that's
question.
something valuable. There's actually creatine in steak, obviously, too,
Mhm.
that you naturally from a whole food source can pull from. But supplementary wise, without a doubt, but creatine monohydrate is something I incorporate in all my shakes.
And again, same concept as everything else, man. It's kind of knowing where you're at too, because if you have kidney dysfunction or if you've had kidney issues,
Very
creatine
important.
might be something you want to be careful with
Yeah.
because your body has to break it down and it produces a byproduct called creatinine, which elevated levels in the blood can, be a little toxic. So people just have to be careful, right?
Be careful.
Again, don't just start taking something because we said it, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
we're obviously knowledgeable on the topic, but do your own research, make sure you have your labs and your levels understood, work with a doctor that you trust, and then try stuff out.
Huge.
Yeah,
Yeah. Set the baseline. That's one
right.
of the biggest things. Just and then live full fueled, baby.
Just
That's
live
what
full
it's
fuel.
about.
That's right.
Live
I love that.
fuel, full field.
Live full fuel.
So
We'll get that down, bro.
what what are we going to be talking about next season? We're actually that was a bonus episode for supplementation.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be going into movement, which I'm super
Yeah.
pumped about
Yeah.
in terms of
That'll be fun.
how we're going to be incorporated. So we'll have 3 episodes. We might throw in a bonus episode there, but
Yeah,
like we'll
at
do
least
3
3.
episodes
Yeah.
on movement for that season and really hone in on what it means to move.
Yeah.
And then move with intention. I think
Yeah.
that's a big thing because people always want to go towards movement. Like, okay, if I'm moving, but like busy movement is always good movement. Intentional movement is always better movement.
Yeah.
So it's we'll dive into what intentional movement is.
Yeah, I think we'll go into some detail too, benefits of it, right? Like what it does for your body, brain, all that.
Yeah.
Your digestion, your insulin. And then like how people can, I think a big one is like how can people start to move more in their life, right? That'll probably be a big takeaway for a lot of people. So
without a doubt.
yeah,
All
man.
right, brother.
Excited about it, brother.
We'll
Good stuff,
see you,
man.
Live full fuel.